amid growing concerns that a global trade war could slow the global economy and weaken oil demand. Apart from the markets, EU and India are in constant touch with the US to negotiate reciprocals. In Taiwan, the government has announced it will limit the number of shares that can be sold short and raise the minimum short selling margin ratio.
Unwilling to tolerate this idea of a Trump put. Is there a threshold?
I think your question is so stupid. I mean, I think it's I don't want anything to go down, but sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something.
Shailendra Bhatnagar, Chief Analyst and Editor of Markets Business Today is with us. Sakshi Batra, my colleague from Business Today TV, also joining in. First to you, Shailendra Bhatnagar, we knew it would be bad, but did we know it would be this bad?
Sadly, yes, ma'am. We did know because early indications in the market did point to a very sharp sell-off from the GIFT Nifty side. At the moment, we see some short covering for those intelligent people who had gone short either by luck or by design on Friday. They are covering their position, so you see this bounce a bit from the early morning lows, but this will get progressively worse unless we have some sort of a settlement coming in globally between political nations and politicians. This is not the time for equity investors to possibly look at solutions which are outside their grasp. May I tell you that the US futures are at this moment down 3.5–4%, and that will again get reflected when they open overnight on Wall Street, and that will have a circular impact on Asia. This is a point to remain quiet and poised. Do not try to catch a falling knife. If at all you have systematic investment plans in the market, please do not stop them.
Right. Because things will change is what you're saying, Shailendra. I'm just going to ask you that because things will change swiftly, not very swiftly, but what is the expectation?
Ma'am, the expectation is that the next 1 week or so will be extremely volatile, probably on the downside for not only Indian equity assets, but for all assets globally, unless, as I say, either Mr. Trump blinks, he tries to pause this saying that I have achieved what I wanted to tell you, and then let us resume global trade. But what is going to happen based on these higher tariffs? Global growth will slow down dramatically. It's like going at 100 kilometers an hour and then hitting a wall, and then you just react that way. Every single asset class is falling, including crude oil, gold, currencies, bonds. This is not about what looks valuable at a certain price point. This is about a war that is escalating and getting bad by every passing day, ma'am.
Be with us. I'm just going to come back to you. In fact, Sakshi is also with us. Sakshi, just talk to us. Who are the top draggers today? And who are the ones keeping our hopes alive?
Well, that's such an optimistic thought, Sneha, but it's a deep shed of red that we are looking at across the board. Just within minutes of opening in the markets today, investors have lost 19 lakh crore rupees in trade today, with over 2,500 points of a cut on the Sensex and nearly 1,500 points of a cut on the Nifty bank. The Nifty also down by 1,100 points. The mid and the small caps over 5% of a cut. All the sectors in the Nifty, down in the red. IT sector losing about 7% in trade, being the top loser. And you do see all the stocks on the Nifty down deep into the red today. There is no green sign that you can spot whatsoever. All the 50 stocks are down in the red, with 12 of them hitting 50-week lows as well. Trend is down 17%. Remember, Sneha, Trend is a stock that we've talked about as being a wealth creator of 2024, the only Nifty stock that doubled investors' money. That is coming under severe pressure. 17% of a loss on that one. Tata Motors is the second top biggest laggard today. Almost a 10% drop on this one. In fact, it is on course to post its worst single day fall since February of 2022. Is what we are seeing on Tata Motors. This is after the company has said that they have stopped the shipments of JLR to US right after the tariff announcements were made on April 2nd, in effect for the auto and auto parts. from April 3rd. This is the first Indian company to have come out and said that on their JLR shipments, they're stopping all of that for April month. Tata Steel down by 9%. In fact, it's the Tata Group stocks, at least 5 of the Tata Group stocks are contributing to a loss of over 1 lakh crore rupees in trade today. That's the kind of sell-off that we are seeing. There is no shade of green that you spot whatsoever on any Nifty stock. There would be just far and few between stocks within the Nifty Next 50 and mid and small caps that would be holding up. Stocks like within the consumption basket, maybe a Godrej Consumer showing you some sign of green, but that is also very, very fleeting at this point in time. Just like how Shell also pointed out, I think all eyes from investors are on finding out whether there can be any sign of truce. Vietnam came out and said that we will be looking at slashing the tariffs. So some conducive, positive statements rather than only retaliatory and, pointing concerns to trade war is something that markets will be hoping for. Everything rests on what Donald Trump says. So far, there have been very stern statements from Donald Trump. We heard that a while ago. You played it for our viewers when he said that this is a medicine that he wants to give to the world. He does not want the markets to go down, but he's calling tariffs a beautiful medicine for the future of US as well. But there have been so many protests within the country. So many people, top voices from economy, talking about how this could not just hurt the world, but even the US. And the biggest question mark is on whether this can lead to a recession in the US. In case that happens, there will be severe ripple effects across the globe of that.
Absolutely. In fact, I was coming to that. I'm going to go also across to Arun Kejriwal, who is with us. Arun, Sakshi just touched upon that. The fear of a big downturn in the US, which could also be, which should also in a way spell mayhem for all of us, not just in the US, but the global ripple effect of it obviously will be felt all over. That too is just driving, that too is also leading to a sense of fear in the market, isn't it?
So, I believe we are back to March 2020.
Yes.
When the Wuhan epidemic hit us, and talking on different television shows, the question that was asked is, what do you foresee? So even if you had a crystal ball in your hand, you could not foresee what happened over the next 2.5 years. I believe we are in an identical position where the biggest ponderable or the imponderable is Donald Trump. You don't know what he will speak next. Here he's giving advice that this is a bitter medicine. He's also giving advice to the Fed chairman that he should cut rates and not talk politics. And I believe he's crossed all possible limits, and therefore the protest from Americans who can foresee that they are in a worse off situation than prior to he being elected as president. Let's see what has happened in America. 2 of the 3 indices are in bear territory, and the third one is about to enter. Look at the world. While a stray voice, big, strong, stray voice, China has put retaliatory tariff. Vietnam says they are willing to negotiate. But what is Vietnam? It hardly imports anything from China, from the US. It's all about their exports. So it's a matter of their livelihood that they want to negotiate. The other countries, European Union, quiet. India, internal message, all is well. They are not going to bow down. So with such strong voices coming, I believe it's time for America to have a relook. They cannot be like the ostrich who has decided to put the neck in the sand. And I believe we are in for really tough times, 7-10 days of pure uncertainty. Nobody knows what will happen next.
Nobody knows what's going to happen the next. I think that sums up the situation as of today. I'm also going to go straight across to Vidya, who is with us from Dalal Street, where the bloodbath is right now. Vidya, the sentiments, of course, just reflective of perhaps what was expected? Like the analysts here have been telling us that we did expect it to be pretty bad, and this is in perfect line with the expectation at least.
Yeah, since the time Trump had come out with this issue about reciprocal tariff, it was expected that there would be, the stock markets would react this way, but that everyone's seeing, whether everyone knew that this bloodbath would happen is not really sure. I'm joined by a few people. आपसे बात कर सकते हैं?
Yes,
So you invest, आप invest करते हैं stock में.
Yes.
ये जो जिस तरीके से अभी सब red में दिख रहा है, did you really expect this?
यस मैडम अभी तो लगता है क्योंकि अभी बहुत सारा सबका वही चल रहा है कि सबका लॉस
नहीं तो आप बेच रहे हैं क्या आज या अभी होल्ड कर रहे हैं? अच्छा. So certainly some people are still holding on. They don't know what the bottom would be of this entire tariff war that induced the stock market fall that has happened. But certainly every indices that I see right now, on this entire scroll that is going across the Bombay Stock Exchange, it's all in the red. There's hardly any share which is actually, share listing, which is actually in the green. And that's something that has worried a lot of people. But people are still saying, don't panic. The experts are saying that don't sell off immediately, strategize in this falling market and then decide what you have to do. So don't just panic and sell is a strategy that most experts are asking people to follow.
All right, Vidya, I'll just come back to you in a moment from now. Vidya getting asked those details. I'm going to go back to, in fact, Shailendra for more on that. Shailendra, just your advice. What should the investors do? I mean, everybody is saying don't panic, but is that even possible, a situation like that? A lot of people are already looking at a possible sell-off. Should they be doing it? Should they wait it out? This will settle, the dust will settle in a week's time. What do you expect?
Ma'am, certainly the dust will settle in a week's time, but what is the best way forward is very simple. If you have if you are fortunate to have a systematic investment plan in the market via a mutual fund, be it large cap, mid cap or small cap, forget about that for the moment. Please do not stop. This is the ideal time for that SIP to work. Many indices have corrected 20-25% from the peak, as Arunji was mentioning. Many stocks have corrected 50% from the peak. Let the fund manager on your behalf do the buying and selling, and all that you have to do is keep that systematic investment plan alive and let it do the job that it was designed to do. For those holding individual stocks, and some of them who may have corrected 50%, that's a loss of capital that you have seen, but that's a loss of capital if you book the loss. If you continue holding and you have a quality stock, a large cap stock in your portfolio, then please do not panic. Let's see how the dust settles down. But the crystal ball is absolutely dark. It shows nothing in terms of how the future is, except for the fact that it's going to be a very painful recovery whenever it starts. Remember, in these kind of crises, it is not as if that the world is coming to an end. We have gone through COVID, we have gone through the great financial crisis. Companies, countries, bureaucrats, central bankers come together to find a solution. Equities will continue to exist even long after us. This is a panic moment. You have to keep your head sensibly on your shoulders. Do not stop your SIP. Please continue that. And if you are smart, if you have some liquid money, please put in one extra SIP in a large cap fund in this kind of a panic mode.
Arun, how would you say, how do you survive the stock market bloodbath? What would your general advice to investors be?
One data point. This March Madness rally that we saw, it took 14 sessions for the Nifty to gain 1900 points. And today is the 8th session from the top that we are back where the bottom was made. Imagine gains of 14 days wiped off in 8 days. That is the intensity of this fall. It's no meaning. I mean, it's not a small fall. That is the point I'm trying to make. What should you do? It's a wake-up call for all those new investors, and they outnumber old investors anywhere between 4.5 to 5 times is to one who joined the market post-COVID. They had never seen markets correcting or falling. And they thought that market is all about one way. They keep on going up, up and up, and you just reap in the money. Now they have realized that it is not up, it's up and up, and this keeps on as a cycle. You need to plan for a bad day. You need to plan keeping in mind that there are periods and long periods of correction, downturn that happen in the economy, natural, unnatural, and one man made as well. You have to plan for these events, and most important, you also need to keep on booking profits periodically because what is booked is in your pocket. What should an investor do at these trying moments? A, very, very clear, don't panic. B, is it the right time to do body building up a new portfolio? Well, think about making your portfolio, identify your stocks, don't buy right away, let the market stabilize. The difference between today and probably a stabilized market could be 4, 5, 6% in the stocks that you look at. It doesn't matter, but you will have stability of the mind, you will have peace of the mind when you buy in a stabilized market rather than buying today.
Be with us. I'm just, in fact, going to let my colleague Sakshi also come in. Sakshi has a question for you, Arun. Sakshi, go ahead.
Very good morning to you, Arunji. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I have to ask you this one question. Everybody's talking about the odds of recession in the US markets. What are the odds of Indian markets getting into a bear territory if this trade war has to escalate? Where are we at this point in time, sir?
So I don't want to get into the technical definition of a bear market because maybe at 20% that kicks in. But our economy is in a different league as to what America is. We have not seen that kind of a rally happening in the Indian markets that one should get worried about a bear market. We are a fairly resilient economy. Other than edible oil and crude oil, we are able to manage in most commodities, most products. It's technology and some items of technology that we are unable to have on our own, but that is available at a price. Looking at all this, the fact that we consume almost somewhere between 80 and 84% of what we produce domestically is a very strong factor for our growth and sustained growth. Some of the areas which we have developed self-production, make in India, include products like defense. In terms of our railways, we have developed systems which are worth talking about. The popular Vande Bharat train is being exported from India. So all these things give you the belief that we are far, far away from recession. And even if America does go into recession, which it looks quite likely, we are going to remain insulated. However, there will be ripple effects of that on our economy because exports currently globally seem to be getting affected until new equations are drawn up, which could take anywhere between a month to 3 months.
You know, I also want to come in here. Sakshi, looking at the figures, it's 19 lakh crore that has been wiped out as the Sensex has started with a huge, huge drop today. It's a huge, crisis that we are staring at.
Absolutely, Sneha. It does not really look good at all with the kind of sell-off that we have seen. I mean, we hardly remember when was the time when we actually saw a 3,000, 4,000 point of a cut on Sensex on a single day, on the Nifty about 1,100 points of a day. Of course, what we have seen in the past is even when that crash came, we have always bounced back with a strong vigor. But the markets are not in the same zone at all. You know, the days of making money on an uptrend seem fairly distant at this point in time already. In the last 5 to 6 months, the markets have lost quite a bit, in trade. We are down, what, about 11, 12 odd percent from the highs. Even the broader markets, the mid and small caps have lost about 20, 22% odd from their highs as well in the last 5 months of a pain. And, this was all, getting cumulated. Markets were being seen as overvalued. A lot of fundamentals already priced in, uncertainty as a question mark. And this was the heaviest blow that probably could have come at this point in time when the markets were already very vulnerable and investors were already feeling, kind of unsure of whether they have got into the right asset class with their investments. Because remember, after 2020, we've seen the first time investors really jump onto the bandwagon, and they've only seen brighter days in the Indian markets. Over the last 5 months, they have for the first time seen a long drawn consolidative period, a painful period full of volatility, period full of uncertainty. And now with this global uncertainty coming in at large, where everything depends on that one person that Arunji mentioned, that Donald Trump, as to what he does tomorrow, will be important to be seen as, and how other countries really look at tariffs at this point in time, what really happens to the global economy, the GDP projections at large, and therefore what the US Fed, the Indian central banks around the world will do, what will happen to inflation, which will again come as a big red hot discussion. Because of these tariff wars, inflation is going to be a major issue yet again. We were slowly and gradually only coming out of that issue, but that again comes in front of us. So everything is just revolving on uncertainty at this point in time. But remember what Shell and Arunji have really said. It's very important for retail investors to know that this time shall too pass. I mean, if I just bring out some data points for all our viewers to really see. Remember, in 2020, during COVID, we actually saw a 38% fall in the markets. In 2008, 2009, the subprime crisis, a 60% of a crash is what we have seen in the markets. In, again, the dot-com bubble, 2000, 2001, there's a 56% crash that has happened. So there are periods of uncertainty that come in. But we have to remember at the long term, at this point in time, in case you have been in the investors, all the top market experts do say that if you're in the equity as an asset class, 7 years, 10 years plus is when you actually see the return. So you have to keep your eye in the long term and know that this time too shall pass. In case you have investments, do not panic sell. That's the worst mistake that any retail investor can actually do. Act out of fear and panic sell at this point in time. Let things settle down. Take an informed decision with top market experts, fundamental and financial experts. In case you have your SIPs running, double down on them. You're actually getting a good price at this point in time. You look at 10 years hence, you will probably not get 21,000, 400, 500 kind of levels. Look at this at that point in time and then look at your future investments. Yeah.
About gold. I'd like to bring in Shailinder here. Tell us a little about, because Sakshi spoke about diversifying investments. Tell us a little about investments in gold at this point in time. Like, should we do it?
No, ma'am. This is a falling knife. Even gold will correct because it's gone up 40-45% in the last 1 year or so. If you are in a gold ETF, that's a sensible way of looking into it. Please continue your SIPs into that. But this is not a time to maybe start a fresh SIP in an asset class which is already up 40-45% over the last 1 year. Remember, China is correcting the maximum, not only because it's fighting with the US, but the Chinese markets were up the maximum in the last 6 months or so. So this profit is being taken away. Gold will also fall simply because there is really no safety anywhere at this point of time. I feel like a stupid fool repeating myself. The only safety that you see in the market today is a fixed deposit. And again, if you have a systematic investment plan in any mutual fund, please do not stop it. We are on 7th of April. much of this panic that is being seen should die down. People will get together and find a solution. However, I would like to point out that in this time when everybody in the world is panicking, Mr. Trump was playing golf. So try and understand what the message is the gentleman trying to send across the world. The White House came out with a release saying that Mr. Trump is doing very well in the golf tournament that he's planning. So in the gentlest possible way, I must say that this volatility will be a part of our system for a time being, unless we find a solution. And the solution is not in the hands of me, you, Sakshi or Arunji. The solution is in the hands of politicians, not even bureaucrats.
Right, and I would say maybe a man-made disaster in that sense, isn't it? I'm going to thank you for joining in and sharing your views with us on what really looks like, as far as the road ahead is concerned, like our experts have been putting it. It's like a crystal ball which is completely dark, so no one knows. But do not panic. Yes, a split in opinion when it comes to investing in asset classes like gold, but by and large, stay put. No panic selling off, and that is something that is being advised by all the experts here on the show, including my colleague Sakshi Batra, whom I keep running to, talking about my mutual funds and how I've never earned anything. But they've been saying just stay put for the time being. Do not worry. This too shall pass is the message from our experts here.
At some point, you're unwilling to tolerate this idea of a Trump put. Is there a threshold?
I think your question is so stupid. I think it's I don't want anything to go down, but sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something.
Bitter medicine, says the US president. The global economy grappling with the fallout of Trump's reciprocal tariffs. The US president defended reciprocal tariffs while it shakes up global economies. Sources say the Modi government may not be retaliating. Global markets tumbling, but Trump says tariffs are a beautiful thing. The US president said Europe and Asia are eager to make a deal, but they will not accept any deficits, only surplus. Meanwhile, sources say the Modi government is not going to impose any retaliatory tariffs as talks for a trade agreement with the United States are ongoing. Trump also proposing a fresh round of tariffs. This time, the US tariffs will range from 11% to 50% on goods from 57 countries, including key trade partners, UK, Japan, and the European Union.
Leaders, European, Asian, from all over the world, they're dying to make a deal. But I said, we're not going to have deficits with your country. We're not going to do that, because to me a deficit is a loss. We're going to have surpluses, or we're at worst going to be breaking even. We will be taking in over $1 trillion over the next short period of time with the tariffs that I've already instituted. They're already in place. Now, what's going to happen with the market, I can't tell you, but I can tell you our country has gotten a lot stronger.
Stiamo governando nel momento probabilmente più difficile dal dopoguerra oggi. È successo e sta succedendo un po' di tutto. Affronteremo anche il tema dei dazi con determinazione e pragmatismo, senza allarmismi. Non abbiamo condiviso ovviamente la scelta degli Stati Uniti, ma siamo pronti a mettere in campo tutti gli strumenti negoziali ed economici necessari per sostenere le nostre imprese e i nostri settori che dovessero risultare penalizzati.
I hope that the United States and Europe can establish a very close partnership. We obviously are, there's an alliance already, but I'm hopeful that there can be a very close relationship with America and Europe. And I'm hopeful, for example, with the tariffs, that at the end of the day, I hope it is agreed that both Europe and the United States should move, ideally, in my view, to a zero tariff situation, effectively creating a free trade zone between Europe and North America. And that would be that's what I hope occurs.
All right, with that, it's time for a quick break here. On the other side, BJP to stage a stir across Karnataka. BJP Yatra to start from Mysuru today. We're telling you details on that after this very quick commercial break.
that'll be me.
Edge out of the ordinary, heading for the prize line. Boom, I'm in the stars and I know because it feels right. Can you see me shine? True colors, do you feel the vibe? Let no other hide no light.
I will never be ordinary.
Motorola Edge 60 Fusion. Edge out the ordinary.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini. Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Next year, that'll be me.
Edge out of the ordinary, heading for the prize line. Boom, I'm in the stars and I know because it feels right. Can you see me shine? True colors, do you feel the vibe? Let no other hide no light.
I will never be ordinary.
Motorola Edge 60 Fusion. Edge out the ordinary.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
While covering news, there is no room for fluff. No distractions. No dodging the truth. No blanks, no misfires. Just sharp, fearless journalism. Every story, every debate, every question, straight to the point.